right, you tell me when you're ready.
It's going live. You are live. I just want to do an audio check.
Does anybody need an agenda?
All right, you are golden.
Okay, we're going to call to order. We're going to start with the open public meeting statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which time any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act and Board of Education Policy 0162, the Board of Education of the Borough of Bound Brook has caused notice of this meeting to be posted in the board office and at Bound Brook High School, and mailed or faxed to the Courier News, Bound Brook Borough Clerk, South Bound Brook Board of Education, and any person who has requested individual notice and paid the required fee. Can we please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bell.
Here.
Mr. Dawson. Here. Ms. Fazzino. Ms. Lima. Mr. Zucco. Here. Ms. Musa.
Here.
Mr. Minhas.
Here.
Ms. Hyde.
Here.
Mr. Vollmer. Mr. Januzzi. Mr. Board Vice President, you have a quorum present this evening.
Thank you. I'm going to skip President's comments, go right to the Superintendent report.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our August board meeting. We are in a great place. We're looking forward to students coming back in a couple of weeks. We put in a lot of hard work over the last couple of months to get ready for this upcoming school year. We're very excited. Hopefully I'll get to see some of you at new teacher or at the student orientation that are happening this week. And we look forward to having you back in a couple of weeks. And that's it for my comments.
Okay, our student board member is not here tonight, so we'll go right to committee reports, starting with education with Mr. Dawson.
Thank you. The Education Committee met on August 7th. Our focus was largely around reviewing the results of our summer programs. We as a district offer a variety of summer programs for kids who may need academic attention, credit recovery, or additional programming to meet their developmental needs. This year, the program was redesigned and reimagined, and it included STEM, art, and other fun activities. As a result, the district noted dramatic increases in improvement in student attendance, as well as a decrease in problematic student behaviors. We did some surveying of students and staff and parents at the conclusion of the survey, and the results overwhelmingly indicated that people were not only satisfied with the programming, but they found meaning and value in it. During our summer programs, student needs were determined through assessments and teacher data. Elementary students were able to be assessed through the iReady program, which is an adaptive test that we will be utilizing in the upcoming school year. Initial feedback was very positive from the use of that program. Teachers were able to use the data along with data from the spring benchmark tests to design really targeted small group instruction in both language arts and math. The results were very positive. Post-test results indicated high amounts of growth. And there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm that perhaps sharing this data with teachers as the year begins will really bring about some enthusiasm for embracing an instructional approach that's targeted and responsive to data in the upcoming school year. Additionally, the extended school year program also enjoyed great success. There were a variety of fun things kids did both in the buildings as well as in the community. And all of these improvements, the administration really felt was possible because of really dedicated teacher leaders in our programs. We want to recognize those folks. I apologize if I am not pronouncing your names correctly. Those folks included Brittany Nelson, Jen Daravanik, Bethany Wagner, Caitlin Diaz. The board thanks you for your work and your leadership in our summer programs. And that was our education meeting this month.
Okay, anybody have any questions for education? No, okay. Governance is next. I can do this in under a minute, only because we talked about setting our goals for the upcoming year, and we kind of spitballed some ideas so that we can bring ideas to you guys later tonight. So pretty much everything we did at governance, you will learn at the second portion of our meeting with Gwen this evening. So I really have no other report. That brings us right to human resources. Ms. Musk.
I was not in attendance.
Okay. Okay.
So I apologize for that.
Same thing for, wow, we are moving. Is anybody here from the community engagement and, oh, I guess actually now that's the, extracurricular committee. Have a report? No? Okay, and Ms. High, what about you? Anything from Somerset County?
We met on August 2nd, and it really was, it was a quick meeting. And the superintendent is Hal Dunsavage, who's been there for 43 years. His contract was renewed, he will be now there until 2027, which he will retire. Just discussed what the vision was with operations, putting money in reserve boilers, heaters, windows, etc. Passing knowledge on to whoever might be taking over, and extending the education program just to invest more in teachers. ESY was going very well. It's since ended. There were 50 students in attendance. The building was hit by one of the storms, by lightning in one of the storms, and it affected the fire system. So they had to have a 24/7 fire watch, and that was contracted until 8/15. The firm, which was really making the repairs, it was supposed to be done on August 7th. I'm sure it was scheduled, they just haven't heard anything. They have 120 students scheduled to start in the fall. As you know, in the last report, the busing, they have done away with the busing part of their program, and Hunterdon County purchased their snow removal equipment. It cost $14 grand to set that up and take it down each season. They didn't just have the committee reports, which were non-eventful, and that was it. The only other thing is that they leased the Central Lab Bridgewater, where they were storing all the busing equipment. They leased it for 1 extra month for $13,000 as opposed to 1 extra year for $180,000. So they could just get rid of all the equipment stuff that was housed there. New business there is that we're going to be discussing goals at the October meeting, and that is it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for any of our committees? All right, then at this time, we are open to the public for agenda items only. As there is no one coming up here. Tom, give us a look online real quick.
Can I say I'm excited for the kiddies to come back?
Can you say that?
Yes.
You have to put your name on the thing and sign in. You can say that, yes.
Agenda items are open to the public.
Agenda items.
Nothing for the agenda online.
Okay, then we'll move on to approval of minutes. Be resolved that the Bound Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve the minutes for the following meetings, regular and executive meeting minutes of July 19, 2023. Can I have a motion, please? Go with Ms. High. And a second? Is that Ms. Muslin down there? Okay. Second by Ms. Muslin. Any?
I have to abstain.
Yes, I'm sure there'll be a couple abstentions. Any discussion at all? Okay.
Roll call.
Yes, sir.
Roll call on the minutes. Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
Mr. Zupko. Abstain. So noted. Ms. Musin.
Yes.
Mr. Minhas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Have 5 affirmative votes on minutes. That's majority of the members seated, so motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to personnel resolutions. Be resolved, the superintendent recommends for approval the resolutions as outlined in district personnel resolutions, which is 7.2 through 7.45. So there's a lot there to look at. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
All right, Mr. Zupko, and a second.
Second.
Sounds like Ms. Musson again. All right. Any comments? Give you a minute because there are quite a few of them.
I have one question. And it's on 7-7.
7.7?
Yeah, I thought that Mr. Di Benedetto had retired. No?
Son.
Hmm?
He has a son that works here.
Junior.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Quick question, for the number of folks that have retired or left, how are we doing compared to the year before? Do we know?
That are retiring or left.
You mean replacing,
Yeah,
filling open spots?
yeah, and how, because last year we had a lot of, like, the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of people that either retired or left the district. And how are we doing this year in those numbers?
From first glance, and I was talking to the union the other day, it looks like it's much better, but I'll get you pretty specific numbers.
So it's trending down.
Yeah, trending down.
Yeah, because along with all those, not all, the retirements and resignations, there are quite a few hires on this as well. Anyone else on number 7?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
And it's 7.34, and it's just to say, I'm happy that Sonny Intercovic is retiring, but I'm also so sad that she's retiring, because she was just such a valuable member of the Bellmore teaching team. He was great.
Okay. Seeing no further comment, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Personnel action items. Mr. Bauer.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Minhas. Ms. Hyde.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on. Item 8, be it resolved, the Bound Brook Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in district education resolutions, that is 8.2 through 8.29. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. High. And second,
Second.
Mr. Minhas?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Minhas. Any discussion?
8.2, virtual learning. Do we have to do that?
Every year. The virtual learning plan,
Yeah.
every year. Oh, no, we don't have to do it. We just have to have a plan in the event. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Are there any changes to last year's virtual learning?
I'm not hearing the conversation.
Can they speak into their?
Yes.
They're talking about the virtual learning plan,
Oh, okay.
which is 8.3.
Yeah.
Just asking if that's something that we do every year, which it is, and there have been no changes
Right.
from last year to this year.
Thank you.
I have a question.
He says not in his mic.
I have a question. 8.3, is this, is this a new facility that we're utilizing, or we've used them before?
It's for a new purpose.
Yeah, mine doesn't work.
Can we turn it up a little bit? It's
Yeah.
for a new purpose.
My numbers don't match
Oh,
up.
no. That's.
It's not replacing Dr. Frank.
That was my question.
No,
Okay.
no.
Good.
This was,
I'm good.
So jumping down to 829, the last one about the elementary school hours.
yes,
P3 and P4, so those are just the ones that are 3-year-old and 4-year-olds?
Yes.
So they're gonna be in separate classes, or they're gonna be intermingled?
yeah, there'll be, well, there's some that will be in the multi-graded classrooms, but we have new preschool programs that will be.
Okay, yeah, because when I look at like a half-hour difference between the P3 and kindergarten getting out,
Right.
you know, and some parents do happen to have kids that are in two different grades, so I was wondering, little. That's a big leeway time from getting one child at 2:30 and you having to wait till the next one at 3 o'clock.
Okay, all right, we spoke about it, we will look into that.
I don't know
situation.
what that, I mean, a lot of it comes down to the data, like how many kids are in there and how many of them have siblings and
Right.
others. So, you know, that impact may be like, I don't know, like a handful of parents, but I don't know how that works, what their, how the logistics will work for them.
Yeah, we'll put a plan in place for those that have difficulty with that, we will have, the active program step in and, assist those parents. All right. I just wanted to,
Congratulate the administration for the comprehensive concentration of mental health services. And I, as a clinician myself, I think it's extraordinarily helpful that not only students, but staff have those resources. And I can't tell you how, from the bottom of my heart, I'm excited because as post-pandemic, we have many challenges ahead. So I wanted to say kudos and thank you, and I hope we have a continued adherence to this, because I think this is has and will be upcoming issues. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any more discussion? No. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Education resolution. Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
Ms. Musin.
Yes.
Mr. Minhas.
Yes.
Ms. Hyde.
Yes,
Motion passes.
Okay, moving along to board action resolutions. Be it resolved, the Bolingbrook Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in board action resolutions. These are items 9.2 through 9.26. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Mr. Zupko, thank you. And a second?
second,
Thank you, Ms. Hyde. Any discussion?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
last minute correction to one of the agenda items, if I may.
Okay.
Agenda item 9.19, approval change order number 2 and number 3 to ISM Council Contracting.
Mhm.
Due to the diligence of our facility director soliciting additional quotes for the service, at this time, I would like to pull the current number 2 from the agenda and make number 3 the new number 2. Just to keep the sequence with the change orders. And just for clarity, I'll read the motion.
Okay.
Be it resolved that the Bolingbrook Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent and as recommended by DRG Architects, to approve the proposed change order number 2, which is currently listed as number 3. And that is $16,178.80 for revisions to electrical service upgrades at the annex. The total amount of the change orders for this new number 2 is $16,178.80. At the next meeting, we will have a replacement for the previous number 2, which was pulled, and it will be materially less.
Outstanding. Okay. Any other comments, questions? No? Okay, then can we please have a roll call?
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
Ms. Guzino. Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
Ms. Musin.
Yes.
Mr. Minhas. Yes. Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
On to other matters to come before the board or new business. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss at this time? Sailing through, okay. Then at this time, we are open to the public for discussion. Back to you, Tom.
There's nothing online.
Nothing online, anyone here? Okay, then we are moving along to executive. Give me a second here. Bound Board of Education to enter executive session as allowed by NJSA 10-4-11 for the purpose of, I don't know what numbers we're going in for. Anyone tell me that?
Mike? Yes. 13.2, update on security incident and attorney advice regarding the same. 13.3, harassment, intimidation, bullying. 13.4, update on BBEA negotiations. 13.5, reconvene in open session.
Do we know what numbers they fall under in the,
That would be 1, 3, 4, 7.
okay, 1, 3, 4, and 7. Can I have a motion to go into executive?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Zupko. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Did we roll call this one?
All in favor?
That's what I thought. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. When you're ready, Tom.
You are unmuted.
Okay, we are ready to reconvene in open session. Can I have a motion to reconvene?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Zupko, second. All in favor? Aye, okay, we're back in open session. We are gonna move to item 14.1. Uh-oh, Roger. Didn't go. Oh, it went, okay, we're good. Be it resolved, the Bound Brook Board of Education, the approval of the resolutions as outlined in approval of HIP cases under high school only, which is just item 14.2. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Is that Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson, and second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Mulder? Okay, Mr. Mulder, thank you. Any discussion? I guess we can't really discuss HIP. So can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Dawson,
Yes.
Ms. Lima,
Abstain.
so noted, thank you. Mr. Zupko,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Minhas. Yes. Ms. Hyde,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman, yes. Motion passes.
Okay, and item 15.1, be it resolved, the Bound Brook Board of Education, the approval of resolutions as outlined in approval of HIP cases under middle and elementary school. Can I have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Musson, and a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hyde. Any discussion? No? Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Dawson,
Yes.
Ms. Lima.
Abstain.
All yours. So noted, thank you. Mr. Zupko,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Minhas. Yes. Ms. Hyde,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman. Yes. Motion passes.
Okay. Procedurally, Mr. Gorski, we're up to 16.1, which is our workshop here. Do we just move right into that?
I would recommend sitting the chairs down below.
But we don't do anything here as far as, we adjourn after that,
Right,
right?
just roll right into it.
Okay, all right, let's move down to the seats then. Usually it says.
How are you? Good, it's good to see you. There is a packet up there, I should have grabbed it.
The package are upstairs?
On your, it should be at your desk.
I didn't have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have one on.
Look further up, I
They
just put them in the wrong places. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
It's hard to believe it's almost 12.
It's not almost. We have so much time. So much sun.
So much.
So much. Although Sue's tree has started falling into my pool, so we must be getting close.
It's, hey, John, can you grab my glasses? Thank you. You know what, it feels like fall just because all the leaves, it's like.
Yeah. You're gonna wake up and that tree's gonna be gone, just so you know.
You know,
I'm
that's,
gonna cut that thing down.
nuh-uh, my father passed away when I was 8. And I remember him planting the tree, that tree's never going.
They have a way of growing those trees.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
It's a pain in the neck tree, it really is.
No one will know. Just have to knock it.
Just your pool.
Are you giving him ideas?
conditioner. Hmm?
Are you giving him ideas on my tree?
I'm innocent.
It must be.
Look at his face.
So I know you've already sat through closed session, so thank you for having the patience to come in to do this. And it's actually really appropriate because we're going to be reviewing goals. There are last year's goals, they're also in the PowerPoint, but I sat down and it's like, there they are. So we actually entitled this year's goal setting, Sustaining the Learning and Accelerating the Growth, really because this was the first year that we were really back full-time from COVID. And now it's really, as we begin to play catch-up, how do we think about accelerating the growth? And talking about goal setting for 23 and 24. So really, it's setting the course for student success. I just love this picture of a girl on a pencil riding into the sun. Closing those opportunity gaps so that we are reaching all children and taking them to the next level. And then thinking a little bit from this past school year, what did we really learn? Certainly talking about school, the importance of school culture and climate, students' mental health. All of those have been really greatly emphasized this particular year. Equitable access to all of your curriculum and your co-curricular opportunities for students is an important piece. Recruiting and training high-quality staff with the staff shortages all across the state have become really challenging for a lot of districts, especially in those areas such as for English language learners, particularly higher level math courses. The lack of predictable funding has become increasingly complicating for all of you to figure year to year how to plan effectively, because there's always that level of uncertainty. I mean, the governor just signed a bill yesterday to restore courtesy busing for like 10,000 kids. It's just, you live in a world of uncertainty. So those things are really important. We've learned again about the limitations of technology, and hopefully also about the possibilities of using that technology to accelerate learning, to help remediate those students who may need additional time on task. And so why do we set goals? Because by setting those goals for the district, you enable your superintendent to translate those goals to your building leaders. Those building leaders translate those goals to their teachers, and everyone's oars are in the water rowing in the same direction. They may look differently at different levels. At the elementary, middle, and high school, those goals get translated differently, but they are essentially the same goals. You're working toward that same end. And hopefully, it will increase student achievement for all kids moving forward. So here's your mission statement. And I always like, how did it go from the beginning to the end? That was,
All right.
that was quick.
That was easy.
Whoa.
Let's go home.
Whoa.
Oh my God, no.
Well, I know you all want to be done quickly, so I'm just trying to. I guess I landed just too hard on that last one. So, I'm not going to read this. I'm sure you know it probably by heart, but it's important to think about it. So, why set these? To ensure that you have equitable policy development that allows for students to all be recognized, known, and heard. Moving closer to your mission statement, to achieving your ultimate goals, helps for the planning and implementation of your professional development. What does the staff need to have? How do we plan for effectively for that? It allows you for periodic evaluation to readjust if you have to, realign. You never know when something's going to pop up. And it's a wonderful way to communicate to your community the importance of what it is you're doing, what you are focused on. And in some ways, it provides, I hate to use the word cover, but in essence, it does provide the board cover that this is your focus, this is what you're working on. So if groups come to the table and want something that is so far afield that you can't possibly really do that within the scope of your board year, it allows you to say that may be something we consider further down the road. And that's what I mean by cover, because you can't do it all in a year. It's just impossible. So you want to make sure that you have a vision of high expectations for all students, which I know all of you do. And then think about what should be your focus for the coming year. This past year's goals, obviously, but besides academic, those 21st century skills, which are so incredibly important, that are part of social emotional learning as well, are so important to be thinking about as well, because we are educating children, not turning out widgets, right? And we want to make sure that they leave with a love of learning, that they're empathetic, that they're civilly responsible, that they're articulate, that they can think critically. There's a new standard coming out about technological literacy so that students can discern what's true and what's not true, what's real and what's not real. So all of those things are important. Here are the goals from last year. They're in front of you. I think that at least the first one is achieved completely. And I would depend on the rest of you to look at the second and third goals to see if those need to be continued or rewritten. And then additionally, is there anything else, any other areas of focus that you believe you need to pay attention to for the 23-24 school year that came out of this past year. And so I would ask Dr. Freeman perhaps to weigh, to weigh in on that, because.
I think that the goals the way they are, I mean, last year we took the first steps. Nothing happened in a year, so I think it's time, and I think during my evaluation it was said, you know, one of the things about the safe environment, taking risks and such was the survey, which I think is valid, you know, because we can go by anecdotal information, but, you know, the survey would be qualitative that we need. And then in terms of the measures, the goal was to incorporate the qualitative and quantitative. However, we needed some new systems. And because of that, we moved from just using Linkit to finding some other resources that would allow us to do it more frequently. So we could have like quarterly report outs to the board based on actual real-time data, which we showed at the committee, the most recent education committee, where it showed how we used it, and we were very successful with a small group of kids. So we're going to take that and use that with, you know, the entire student body, you know, at each level. So we've gotten the actual qualitative and quantitative measures, our tools for it. Now we're going to put it in place, and we would do, I would say, quarterly report outs to the board, which would show what type of progress we're making.
So we spoke about all of this at governance this past, I guess, 2 weeks ago. And almost exactly what you're saying is what we came up with. So I just have a few notes here. We said district goal 1 was met, and we can cross that off.
Got it.
District goal 2, we said should remain, create the safe environment. We should stay with that because while we're working towards it, we're not quite there yet as far as everybody really feeling safe and, you know, building that perfect culture that we want. We had a long way to go. So we've come a long way, but there's still more to do there.
You don't change culture overnight.
Right.
It
And
just doesn't happen.
goal 3, we said we would like to have, and I think maybe this is what Dr. Freeman is saying, something a little bit more tangible as far as the data. Instead of just saying incorporate qualitative and quantitative, maybe as a board we could see, like quarterly reports, for instance, see more data to see exactly how that's going. And then at that point, we said we would have to open it up to the rest of the board if we wanted a third goal, having crossed off number 1, or if we want to stick with 2. And as far as the board goal, our number 1 priority, as far as the committee was concerned, is that we have to start working on the new 5-year plan for the district because this is the final year coming up. So we have to work through that.
So you want to begin and execute on a 5-year strategic plan?
Right.
Is your board goal?
That's all the committee came up with. Now, that's just 3 of us. So at that point, you know, anyone else is more than welcome to add input in any of those places. Those were just our suggestions.
Yes, it sounds good. I mean, especially the 5-year plan. I mean, that's a priority.
Yeah, that has to be done.
Have to have that done.
And from what Dr. Freeman says, when he walked in the door and saw it, it's overwhelming and broad and needs to be. I was going to ask you on the 5-year strategic plan, are you going to use the old one and build off of it, or kind of start with like the zero-based strategic plan and start from scratch? What's your plan?
Well, there's some foundational things we would use, but I'll have somebody come in and help us with that. You know what I mean? To kind of show us the best way to go. I have an idea of what we need. I'm sure everybody has input, but I want to have somebody who specializes this come in.
Okay. And is that something that's done in committee? I feel like that if so, that's governance. Yeah, which sounds
I'll tell you what I say.
like a lot of work for governance.
Comment on that. I have an idea of how is it done? The building of the 5-year plan.
Yep.
Sure. Hold forth. You're asking me for my comment?
From your experience.
So my experience is there's 2 different approaches. While having 5 years is a long time, and a lot has changed in those 5 years. So I'm not sure there's a lot of value in retaining anything from the previous strategic plan because things have changed so dramatically over the course of the last 5 years.
Especially these last 5 years.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
The pandemic, things just totally flipped, right? So I'm not sure that there's any value in even looking at that. And moving forward, districts tend to do it two different ways. Most districts will hire consultants. Now, if you're looking for someone to come in and do real data analysis and a deep dive into the curriculum and instructional program, you need to reach out to people like Dr. Sikowski from Kane University. I mean, there are a whole host of folks that do that kind of work. We do strategic planning, but you're not going to get that level of data. We don't do that kind of educational analysis because we're not staffed to do that. Ours is more bringing in the community together, bringing in stakeholders, asking them to identify what they see from their perspectives are the strengths of the district and the challenges that the district faces over the next 3 to 5 years, having them identify what's important to them. What is their vision for the future of the Bound Brook School District? What does that mean to your community? And it's very community specific. Every district's different, as you know. And then having them identify from all of that work, that collective work, where they see are the appropriate goal areas to put a focus on, whether it's culture and climate, whether it's school safety and security. Typically, these are the kinds of things we are hearing and getting from districts out there. Curriculum, the instructional program itself. And then all of that gets turned over to your administration to write the action plans from those goals that are written by the group. Because oftentimes if you have the community involved in writing action plans, they're not really necessarily in touch with the real world. And by that real world, what I mean, the limitations, teacher contracts, like they may say, oh, we need to do X, Y, and Z, but they don't think through, well, now you need busing and you need extra staff and there's all
We
kinds
have to hire 50 more teachers.
of hire 50 more teachers. So, that is typically how we work through strategic planning, but it is less, I don't want to say academically focused, but it's less driven by data. It's more qualitative than quantitative. And so I think you have to decide which matters most to your district and your community.
Right, I think a combination of both.
Pardon me?
I think a combination of both. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
I have seen that.
I think a combination of both because we want to give the input to the community. This way they feel like we've heard what they had to say.
Right, and I think that that's
This one.
important. Oftentimes, we have found though that those groups that are really focused on the quantitative sort of just do a quick survey and think that that's sufficient.
Right.
I am of the mind that asking people I think there are a lot of intangible benefits that go with strategic planning that you can't necessarily measure in quantifiable terms. And one of those is having all different groups in your community work together, meet each other, get to learn about the schools. You may get, we encourage folks to invite preschool parents, senior citizens, the ministerium, the rabbinical council, the police chief, the fire department, everyone in your community who is involved, because there is so much that people assume about districts that they don't really know. And so having all of those folks that allows kids, elementary parents to talk to middle school staff, for example, and they find out, wow, that rumor wasn't really true about the middle school. Those kinds of things they learn, and that intangible benefit of, wow, there's a whole lot more that goes on here that I just never knew about, because we don't get great press coverage anymore because there is no press really left. And so what they learn is generally through social media, whether it's the Patch or Tap Into, which, they try, but it's not as thorough and as complete as you might like. And many districts don't have full-time, unless they're very large, wealthy districts, communications or someone who's doing the PR piece, that communications plan for the district. And so getting the good news out for the district has become more difficult. So it's another way to get some of that good news out about what the district's doing, as well as hearing about your wards, right? Because you need to know what the community is thinking. What is it that they want to see that they're not seeing? That you may not know. Now you all have different constituencies, because there are multiples of you, right? And you live in different places in town and you do different things and go different places and you have kids at different ages. But it's helpful to hear from everyone in the community. And I think you have to have that component piece. as well as the data, because I think just the data alone doesn't tell us a full story, right? Because it's a human business. And so I think it's important to incorporate both, for what that's worth.
I agree with you. I agree.
So goal number 2, would you like to keep it or would you like to reword it that might say something about more fully utilize the data that is?
So our old goal 3, you're calling our new goal 2? Is that one? Qualitative, quantitative measures?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what it, because we're keeping.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I misspoke myself.
No, that's okay. I know what you meant.
Goal number 3, the quantitative, qualitative piece. You want to talk about more fully utilizing for instructional purposes? Do you want to, you have to tell me, I'm not really clear.
To review movement, where the kids are, where they, it's not all, unfortunately, being on grade level, but there's some that are showing rapid movement, but we just need to know how they're performing.
Yeah, I think the district, the administration has put a lot of this in place. And now we need to report it out to us, I guess is the next step. They're just getting into all of these different platforms that kind of gather all the data, and teachers are learning to use it.
Yeah.
And now we need to see how that's working and how we're moving kids forward, I think.
That's a big piece of it too, using that data to really target student achievement. One of the things we're, looking at, you don't have to do every single standard if the standard has already been met. You need to focus on the needs of individuals and groups.
I think we're making headway towards that.
I do.
I do
think,
too.
A next step might be, how can we make sure that our staff members, our administrators, are fluent in the data in a meaningful way?
That's good.
So for example, like
Meaningful way.
when we're looking at student achievement numbers, can we have school-based administrators present the story of their building as opposed to one person presenting the entire district? Like, how do we get to make sure that the folks who are on the ground in the trenches using the data are really giving us their impression of it in a meaningful way?
And it gives a vision too of where it's starting. What are we doing at the very young age, pre-K, et cetera, and moving on up? Where are the needs? I think we're seeing it too.
Oh, we're definitely
I think the
going
last
in
year
the
has been light years ahead of where
Yes.
we were.
Absolutely.
I think the next step is, because
Utilizing
we've been teaching how to use the data now. Can they use what they've learned? Use the data effectively?
And also all the
And
new
report
people
out.
coming in.
That's true too.
The new
I mean-
staff coming in to be effectively trained so that they can use it effectively.
I always feel bad every year at my school when the new teachers are just expected, here's
What do I
Lincoln,
do? Yeah.
have fun.
I
We
think
had this
that's
training
That's
last year.
key.
That's a deeper question too, of do we as a board have the structure in place to grapple with that data in a meaningful and logical way? So for example, if we're looking at student assessment results in the fall, right? Are we doing that in such a way where we tie that to how we invested funds, how we assigned personnel? What are the needs that we see as a board that would improve the outcomes? But is that done in a way so it's done in conjunction with the development of a budget and planning for the upcoming year and putting a focus on kind of the direction we want to go? Do we need a certain type of personnel? Is there a certain trait we're looking for?
So
Is there a curriculum need? Like, how do we?
what happens there is the education committee reports out on what they find, and the HR department or committee has to now act on it, so to speak, or operate, or whoever, whatever we find the needs are. Have to, if we find a need like this one segment is, underrepresented in some way, or we need more staff there. So
And-
it's all coordination of all these different areas at this point.
It's
Which-
also gonna be observations of as, just to make sure that those.
Well, I just mean on our end, sure, as administration, that's. But I think our old board went a long way in starting that process, because again, before this year, our committees weren't even reporting out. I mean, that we were getting nothing at all from each other. And now we
It's
set
been a
up,
big change.
it's a huge, yeah, I actually know what's going on in the other committees. It's nice. So we took the first step in that direction that you're saying.
Would you like it to expand to say something along the lines of more fully utilize the data to inform instruction, professional development, and improve student achievement? In other words, the PD piece for the training for the teachers, right? But using it more fully to your point around it's your administrators, but also your line teachers have to be able to utilize it.
Yeah, as I was reading this, to me, the top half is good. It's the effective utilization now, right? We've incorporated things, we've put things in place. The administration's done a great job of bringing in a lot of PD to teach them teach teachers how to use the data. Now they have to get comfortable using it and understanding how that.
Can you read that one more time?
Sure, I mean, it's very awkwardly constructed and
Right.
forgive me.
That's why we brought you for the wording. Come
I
on.
know, well, and I could work on it and it'll get better. But to more fully utilize the data, right?
Mhm.
To inform instruction, to improve student achievement, professional development. I don't really,
Gwen, read that first part again.
to more fully utilize the data, to inform instruction, drive student achievement, and assist. And somewhere we need to get that PD
The
piece in,
PD almost sounds like it needs to come initially.
okay?
Right, I guess
Yeah.
PD would,
PD would take care of.
right.
Through professional
I was just gonna,
development.
yeah,
Yes.
I just had that thought, yeah.
Say it again?
Using or
professional
through
development.
professional development, we can do those things.
Right, to inform instruction, which is the in live, real-time piece, right?
Mhm.
And then, to inform instruction and improve student achievement. I mean,
Yes.
that is the total goal of it, right?
That's the ultimate
Is
goal,
that
yeah.
through live time data, you can see where kids have learned, what they haven't learned, go back, remediate that in some fashion, provide those supports, which will improve ultimately the outcomes in student achievement.
Does improve imply that we're not? Like,
Well, do you want to improve or increase or?
What do you
or
mean?
further support?
We could say accelerate student achievement, if you like.
Well,
I think just
I
like.
think improve is an honest word. I think we want to improve the achievement.
And I think people would relate to that, the improve.
I mean, everybody sits here and
I just
sees
feel like it
numbers.
implies-
We're talking education.
I think to me it implies
There's a
that
lag.
we need to make an improvement, that.
But we do. I have no
Every-
problem with
every
implying that.
district does, but I'm not an educator, and to approve, you're kind of telling me that, to me, a non-educator, it sounds like
Can you,
our students aren't doing well.
Okay.
But they're not. Like, I'm okay with saying that because where they were,
but
like,
if it's
they're
a
not
matter
doing
of
as
a
well as they
word
should
that
be.
might put others at ease,
Yeah.
could you read it and maybe we could put increase or accelerate or expedient, I don't know.
Fully utilize the data through professional development to inform instruction and target student achievement.
I don't like the word target either.
I don't like target particularly.
Focus, drive,
Well, it sounds like we're shooting
Prioritize.
somewhere.
That's a good word.
But
Increase.
see, to me, that makes it sound like it hasn't been a priority,
Okay.
and I know it's been a priority this full year,
That's what I feel about it.
right? So really, we need to
I don't think.
Then
improve is
continue to
like-
improve.
enhance
Continue.
How about continue to improve?
and continue improvement. I just,
What about enhance? That's a safe one. Because either way you cut it is bad, right? So you
Well,
gotta
that's
make-
why,
I mean,
I don't
that
see
is
it as
what
bad.
we're
I just think
doing.
it's honest.
Why
I think
can't
we're
we-
Well,
improving.
well, that's
you're
why I
in
like
leadership.
improve.
As a
but-
teacher, like, hey, I want to improve what I'm
Right, but
doing.
the general public's gonna look at this and say,
I don't either.
I like enhance because
but I think
that's specific to any child, right? You can enhance someone's individual learning.
Yeah, but you could also make something look beautiful and just say,
I
oh,
agree.
we enhanced it, but behind the scenes, it's still the same crap. You know?
Hey, I don't go with that. I don't believe that.
Gwen, can you read it with enhanced?
Okay,
Read it 10 more times.
Yeah, just one more time.
with feeling?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, enhance it.
Yes.
Enhance it,
Enhance
I'll
the
try to,
motion.
I'll improve it. Fully utilize the data through professional development to inform instruction and enhance student achievement.
I'm okay with
It
that.
works.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. What do you think?
What do you want, Danny? What word do you want in there? Danny's not happy. Go ahead.
As a parent, I want to improve. I feel every child can always do better. Yeah, like, just like when I go through my professional development every year, it's to improve me, to improve.
Well,
No matter
and
what
I
class.
think, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
I mean, there are times when I slip and, you know,
we all do.
yeah.
Continue, how, can we just go with continue to improve student achievement?
I want
Right.
that too, so.
Then it's just,
I
it's a
think
combination because we are improving, but we need to continue to do so.
What if we take a vote?
Democracy in action.
I think enhance is a good one. But
Are we
you want-
voting between enhance and improve? This is real minutia here. That's what-
But look, when you're sitting out in the audience, perception's
No,
not
when
intense.
I think enhance, right?
It's gonna be on those goals in front of us, I think it's important. Words matter, right?
How about accelerate?
How about accelerate, improve, and enhance?
I mean, I'm fine with all three if you do that.
EIC, just put EIC.
I mean,
CIC.
but isn't that the idea of having that data, is to help accelerate learning?
Yeah, to enhance it and to
Right.
improve it.
I mean,
What if we use all three words?
That's actually a good point.
Fit on the
Okay.
banner.
Will it fit on the banner?
That's a lot.
I think it's a lot. I
That's a
think it's
lot.
very wordy.
I also think the
Yeah,
word
fewer
accelerate to
words.
me,
It's like.
maybe it's just because
whoa.
my district uses that word, but that leads me to think like accelerated classes and
Yes.
G&T stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I think of
That's what I
there.
do.
I think,
That's what I think
I
of
know,
the word
I know
accelerate.
that, and
We
you
can
could
always
take
go
it that
enhance
way.
and improve.
To me, accelerating means going faster than we would ordinarily be able to
Right.
do, and the idea of utilization of data is to be able to enable the teachers to more quickly understand where there are gaps and close them and move the kids forward. But it's all in how we define words, right? It's how those connotations to words. Improve to me, I
Who's an English
think the
teacher
same
here?
way you do. I continue to improve through my professional development, right? And I never think you can reach that point where you can't get better.
Exactly.
It's around continuous learning. I mean, that's another way to express it if you wanted, to enhance or to, I don't want to say to improve, but to enhance continuous
I mean,
learning
this
for
is
students,
ours.
you
It's another
know,
word
get
for
away from
improve.
student achievement.
Where does accountability come in?
Where does the
You have,
accountability?
you have a nice goal there, but, and it's nice to say this, but is accountability something that we do separate from?
No,
Hey,
that,
No,
when,
no,
when-
I want that as a first goal.
The accountability would come through your
Who's
looking at the
yeah,
accountability?
data
it's the action
and
plans that are
actually
developed.
looking at, does the data move up on student achievement? Is this making a difference in learning? Are our kids achieving or at higher rates and at different levels than they were previously? I mean, that's the easiest thing to measure. Data makes it really easy to measure. As opposed to the quantitative things, which can be really squishy. Like that,
Easy to measure
this to
they're
me
improving.
is a squishier goal, you know, because that's really hard to quantify. How do you measure that, right?
Yeah.
You can say the number of meetings he attended, the places he went, how visible the suit was. But empirically, it's more difficult to measure. Student achievement, at least
That's
in
like when I
that,
know it, I see it, number one. I mean, when I see it, I know it.
and I do too.
Yeah.
But I'm just
That's-
saying, from a
Mhm.
board perspective,
Right.
in terms of something quantifiable, it will be easier for you to measure this than that.
Using accountability, what, from your perspective?
Perspective, all right, so we say we want to improve the education. How are we measuring that? And if we're not achieving that, who's responsible for not achieving it? And if we are achieving it, who gets the credit? I mean, we could say this is a great thing to do, but if the faculty sits there and says, I'm not buying into it.
Well, the easiest answer to that is everybody.
Yeah.
Like, we're all on the same team. So administrators, teachers, us, superintendent, all the way down.
And it comes from the support and the training that they're
Yes.
getting. So you're
Yeah.
not leaving them to do things on their own,
And
But there are some,
providing the support.
there are some
And if-
folks that won't even do it, that won't even lift a finger.
But they are held accountable
Sure.
or should be through the
So that we
evaluation
can't-
process.
And part of the
Right.
whole plan too is going back to, you have an action plan. This is what the administrator is going to do, and this is the professional development that's going to be provided, and et cetera, et cetera.
But that thing was up there. We're handing them the goal and now they have to send it down to administrators, to
Yes.
teachers on down the line and create a plan where they're gonna bring this goal.
And teachers are
fruition.
evaluated annually.
Yes.
And in tested grades and subjects, there's a percentage of their evaluation that's directly tied to those scores. Now, I would tell you, I think there are all kinds of other, you need to use multiple measures to not only evaluate teachers, but also evaluate learning in kids, right? Those standardized test results. But, that's what they print in the paper. That's what all of these various organizations measure districts by. Unfortunately, are those kinds of statistics, not necessarily, are we graduating students who are civically responsible, critical thinkers, empathetic, willing to give back to their communities, which is a huge piece of the educational process. I mean, the totality of it. This speaks to one aspect of it, but that is what you're here to do, is to help students learn and achieve so that when they leave, they can go to college, careers, the military, whatever their next step in life that they want to do is. So we haven't come to a conclusion on the word, now that I've said all of that.
Right. Flip a coin.
Pardon me?
Flip a
Well, let's vote on it then.
That's what.
That's the way to go. What are our choices? Enhance and improve? Are those,
Hands, make it
is
better,
everyone
surpass.
find one of those or the other acceptable? Okay, then let's vote on enhance versus improve. Should we close our eyes and raise our hands so nobody can see? That's how we do it in my classroom.
That's a good.
Yeah, I'm-
We do, we put our heads down and then vote. So nobody can see who's voting
Like
for what.
7 Up, right?
Oh, my goodness. You don't have the courage in your convictions to see how everybody votes. My goodness
You know,
gracious.
on YouTube, right, so it's just.
Thumb up, thumb down.
We do a lot of that too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
no,
Sixth grade.
like liking it on Facebook, give it a thumbs up.
All right, so who would rather have the word enhance?
I'm gonna say, because I'm gonna say enhance, or Joanna came up with a great one.
No, you only get improve or enhance. There's
Wait, I
only
wanna
two
hear it.
choices.
I wanna
Wait,
hear
and here, this,
Amplify. What else?
strength.
Strengthen.
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 Strengthen is good.
There you go.
Strengthen.
Everybody good with strengthen?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. All right,
One more
strengthen.
Can you read it with?
She has so many words crossed out. All the way up the page now.
I will be up tonight looking at this going, I know I wrote something that was intelligent at some point in this process, but it's long gone.
Strengthen. Dr. Freeman, are you good with strengthen?
Yeah, whatever word.
He doesn't even.
I just know what I have to do.
Right, yeah, it doesn't matter what word, he's gonna do the same
We've
thing.
beaten him into submission.
He knows what we
No,
want
I'm
him to
kidding, I'm kidding. Fully, and then I can't even read it without glasses, fully utilize the data through professional development to inform instruction and strengthen student achievement.
I love it, I love it.
Yes.
Henry, we're good.
Good job. All right, so now we have,
One.
hold on, we have two because we're keeping, the only thing, I hate to even say this,
Go ahead.
And don't,
the second word create, we've already started
done that.
creating.
Yes,
So we want to continue to create,
to maintain.
continue to
Sustain.
enhance.
No, sustain.
Sustain, but I think we have to keep going. Sustain means keep it as it is, right? I think.
No,
No, you
You can still.
Okay,
Foster the safe environment, we've already
To foster,
established.
oh, that's even good.
Yada, yada, yada.
continue to grow.
Sustain.
but you already have, you've begun that process, right?
Right, that's like
So-
create. Not that it matters, we could also just leave it as create, no one would be the wiser and it's fine.
No, we
I
can,
think.
we can use continue.
How about continue, because you're gonna continue to do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to continue.
Right.
We still
Oh,
got-
yeah.
we still got a way
That's
to
what
go.
the word is, it's something to
Okay,
continue,
simple,
yeah.
continue.
Oh my
continue.
goodness, that one I can read.
I give that to Edith.
We get out at midnight. in 3 words.
I just stole it from her.
And then the last question would be, do we want a third completely new goal, or are those two
Well,
enough?
I mean, I hate to say it,
That's
but
the
I
last.
kind of do agree with Donna, it's accountability. Something on that level.
Go ahead, Sue.
I think these are two lofty goals. I really do. And it really addresses everything and everybody in the district.
Less is more.
And I think by really going after that, the data and learning about it and using it effectively, et cetera, that's a huge task.
Yeah, the data goal is,
It's
I don't
huge.
know that
So
you
when
can.
you
Do other
talk-
districts have 2 goals?
Some do. They do. Listen, it's about getting the work done,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm looking at.
And that's a huge piece, and
It's
that's,
also
these two
culture
speak to
goal
the
and
two
learning
largest
goal.
Right, that's what
components.
I
Right, and that's what we were
Yes.
talking about, the two parts,
All
the
of the
culture goal and the
instruction
learning
in
goal.
classrooms.
Yeah.
And having a safe,
Well, we need
secure
something
Yes.
to weed out the bad
environment,
apple.
In which to
positive climate
raise the
culture.
scores, in which to,
right?
yes.
I know.
Those
Welcome
two
to
things
education.
drive
I know.
the highest levels of student
The
achievement.
same thing.
So I heard accountability again. Tell me what your perspective was of.
Yeah, that's what I need to know.
Well, I think this goes on to what Gwen is saying. We need additional, what was the word you were using? Additional data points or additional evaluations on those. We can't just continue with the existing evaluation that we have. We might need to have a couple more.
I mean,
But,
that's-
you know, but the thing
that's
is,
like
I'm not an
Educational law.
I'm not an
What do you mean
educator,
about-
so I
what do
wouldn't
you
know.
You mean teacher evaluations?
Yeah.
No,
Also,
I think it was
I mean,
like
if you
when
have
you're
tenure,
looking
this
at
is what
the
you get.
evaluation, make sure we're addressing different points, not just like the
Well,
student
I also-
scores.
Multiple measures of student success,
Yeah,
is that what you're
I
talking
mean,
about?
the thing is that I'm thinking, you know, from the students that are doing.
Sounds like you have a
super
teacher in mind that you,
No.
no, honestly, like, I feel like you're
I
thinking about
know
certain
two-
right,
I know 2
and you're
teachers that
thinking
are,
what would fix that problem?
I
right?
know of 2 teachers and yeah, and I know of others that would say something, but they won't. And my concern is does that start to become a problem? Because we have others that will not say a thing as well.
Can I play devil's advocate
Please go.
using Joanna's line? If you think improve is negative, go ahead and put on there, we want to weed out the bad apples.
I know.
Like, you can't put that on, you can't put something like that on
And
there.
again, you're looking at outliers. You're not looking at the, you know.
And by the way, in committee, Dr. Freeman has already talked about this to us, about
Yeah.
having his evaluations more closely aligned with the student achievement and why
Okay.
some aren't aligned. Like, he's already aware of this. So I don't know if you need to put it in words, because he
No.
knows, like, he's already told
No,
us
I
as much
trust. I
in
trust
education.
And I understand your concern about accountability.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a couple of things have to happen. We talked about PD. We talk about data. We have to create a focus. So we create a focus of what we're looking to do. We have to identify specific practices. And then we have to evaluate with the goal of making better. But I think, and this is what I'm working with the principals now, is honing in on what good evaluation looks like, but also having a consistent focus between the principal, the teachers, the supervisors, so everybody's looking at the same thing. The PD is aligned to it. That's what's really going to make it better. I understand what you mean about
Yeah, man.
accountability, and I don't disagree with you. People have to do what they're supposed to do. We have to support them, but I think creating a focus is very big, because right now what happens is we evaluate, there's a bunch of sections on the evaluation. You try to get every section, there's no focus.
Right.
So we have to narrow that down to a specific focus that aligns with what we're trying to improve. And that's where we're going with it, but that's where the data piece comes in as well. So
I
that's
think
gonna
the
be-
other goal,
So then can
Which
we-
one?
can we
the
then
safe
say
environment, to me.
Have a periodic review of the data and quantitative measures to make sure that we are on track with accomplishing goals 1 and 2.
But
I
that's
was
what
gonna
the
add,
report is.
similar to that.
But that's part of the action plans that you will
Yeah.
get from from your superintendent, so that you will know when those things are being achieved. And I'm a little confused here. You're talking about staff accountability, right?
Could be
Generally
staff, could be
speaking.
teaching, could be.
Teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not criticizing, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand your point.
Right.
Some of that, Dr. Freeman is
Yeah.
absolutely on target with, because it speaks to innovator reliability, because when you have more than one person evaluating staff, if the evaluators aren't on the same page and looking at with the same focus as the other person, then you can get really skewed pieces that don't align, right? And then the person sort of skates right down the middle, right?
Yeah.
Which is what oftentimes happens. So that PD for your educational leaders, supervisors, directors, principals, vice principals, the people that are doing that evaluation is critically important in getting that accountability to work effectively.
I think, oh, sorry, were you gonna,
I was gonna say that the two goals are great and that we're thinking about things from a district lens, right? Really broad, that's gonna impact everybody. What I think would help refine the accountability piece is perhaps if we could develop some indicators for each goal, some examples and non-examples of different aspects of the district where we could say, okay, over the course of the year, we want to get here. So what does it look like? What are some things that would be achieved by December, by March? So for example, second goal is a safe environment for students and staff to feel comfortable taking risks to work collaboratively toward a common goal. So I see that, I think, okay, you can do a climate survey. Implement it by December, review it by March, action plan by May to align with the budget. Then we look at a budget, we see, okay, the budget supports the things that were identified.
you need it earlier than,
You need it
but you,
earlier than that,
point-
you need it
Yeah.
by March.
Yeah.
No, you need the results by March so that you can plan effectively for what that survey shows. And now here's a program that we need or an initiative we ought to undertake, because otherwise you're not gonna get that in the budget and
Right.
your BA
But I
work.
think if we break those goals down a little bit further, and I'm not saying we have to publicize exactly what.
yeah,
we're
that's
looking
the action plan part of
Yeah.
it.
But I think we've got a pretty educated board here of people who, know the community, know the kids, know the buildings, know education, that I think we could probably identify amongst ourselves. Here are some things that would be indicators that we're making progress of this. And here's how we would know it, and here's how we would not. Because maybe we have different definitions of.
So if these are our goals, then just as an example, education committee then would have to come up with those, for the more quantitative one, would have to come up with, what measure do we want to see? Right, that would be-
Actually, in truth, that's responsibility of the administration to put together an action plan with those specific deliverables, so that you'll know what it is you need to know.
Yeah,
we don't
I just think
create
we've got a board that could have a good voice in that. Not that I think we should
And I
be.
think you can through
telling the
committee
administrator what to
discussions
do.
and talking in committee about what the expectations are. You are the what folks. Making it happen is their responsibility.
Yeah.
They're the how.
Right.
So sharing what it is you're looking for, that
Okay.
what,
Yeah.
is critically
Okay.
important.
So let's make sure we define our
And that
conversation
keeps
that
going
way
back
as a
to
goal.
You.
We're the goal
administrative
setters.
team, And yes.
Okay.
They set the goal and they implement,
So what I was gonna say about accountability before, this is just me being an optimist. This is me trying to
Go ahead.
be
Oh,
Go
positive.
ahead, go ahead.
That goal right there with the safe environment, the culture change.
There you
If you can achieve that, those teachers you think won't do it, buy in. Not 100%. You're never gonna 100% of human beings.
Right.
But the people who you think, oh, that teacher is never gonna buy in, all of a sudden, like I've had really good leaders and I've had principals who I couldn't stand, and you can see the difference in the way people work. And I mean, this is me just being an optimist. If the culture keeps changing the way it is, you're gonna see less and less teachers say, no, I don't wanna do that. Because they're gonna either buy in or less effectively, but it happens. Everybody else is gonna buy in, they're gonna be like, oh no, I either buy in or I'm left behind.
Right.
So that's just the optimist in me, thinking that we're kind of accomplishing what you
And then
want.
the third goal would
in a
also
better
support
way.
that as well.
Yeah, and of course. And then the third goal
Yes.
tells us
No,
if
it would
it's,
support that.
It goes
Tell us
hand in
that-
hand.
Yeah.
if you create that safe environment, you will get those who want to do it.
yeah,
And
I-
again, then you're always gonna have an outlier on either side.
sure.
And have
Yeah.
somebody who's the
No,
cheerleader and somebody who's,
yeah.
I'm not doing this.
Right. There'll always be a few in
So-
any job.
in any profession.
Are we
Mhm.
are we
I take
saying we're
accountability
okay
also.
then with 2 goals?
No,
No, to be
I
honest,
don't
I think
know.
it's-
No,
I think it's a big
valid
piece.
concern.
It's a huge, that's a big piece of.
My point of reference is when I first came on the board, I looked through the 5-year plan that was established in 2018. And I looked at it and I basically said, this is all boilerplate. Anybody in the world could have put this together.
Yeah.
And I looked at item 2.
Dr. Freeman said the same thing when he saw it.
I looked at item 2, I said, all right, that looks good. Well, did they do it or did they not do
Yeah.
it? Or can they accomplish that or not accomplish it? And I looked at a 5-year plan that said, well, there was no accountability. And did we do all these wonderful
Well,
things?
and one of
And
the things.
this is me
that-
being the pessimist. Yeah, every district has that stuff and you never really find out if it works. Like
So-
that's, I hate to say, but like, that happens a lot.
So
So
do we need
I-
to shorten the 5-year plan, to like a 3-year plan, which is much?
No,
It's
no,
a
if
5-year.
you go back,
Yeah.
go back
No, you
now
have
to
to
look
do
at the.
No, you don't have to
5-year plan
make
that
it
was
less time, you have to
established.
make it
And
less
here's what I
things.
would- here's
You
what I
have
would
Less
say.
items on there.
That's a strategic
More
plan with
accountable
spots.
items on there that you can measure.
And that's a strategic plan on the
You
shelf.
can't change
Yeah.
every
Correct.
aspect of
No one looks at it.
everything.
Right,
Everyone pays
In
lip
one plan.
service to, and nobody does anything
You gotta
about it.
pick.
I
The
look
Here's
at,
what
only
we
value
need.
they
Here's what
have
has to change.
Is if the board and the administration pay attention to
hold
them,
them accountable to
hold them
doing it.
accountable.
Right.
And the beauty of a good strategic plan is you'll be able to pull your annual goals right from that strategic plan. Because that strategic plan should articulate what these kinds of pieces.
Yeah, right now, we're just pulling out of the air because we don't have a good plan.
Well,
But
I looked,
when we do,
I guess
it's all aligned.
the best analogy, I looked at the 5-year plan, said this looks like the State of the Union speech. The
It's
president gets up
wonderful.
there, whether it's Republican or Democrat, has this laundry list of all these wonderful things I'm gonna do, and nobody says, how are you gonna do
Yeah,
that?
nobody comes back the next, there's no,
Right.
they don't check it
You
a
want
year
to do
later.
this, how are you gonna pay for
They
that?
only check every 4 years and
Right.
then depending upon what's in, they either did it or they didn't do it and
If you
nobody.
have action plans that will safeguard the accountability, and I'm fine.
And that's what really makes a strategic plan work. Also, at the end of every year, when you do your goal setting, say, and with your community, having that conversation, bringing them back in and saying, here's what we worked on, here's what we weren't able to accomplish. It's sort of the how am I doing? Those of you remember Ed Koch, he
Yep.
used to go around saying, how am I doing?
How am I doing?
But looking at and making sure that you are taking stock every year. What did we achieve on the strategic plan? What did we get to? Is there anything that's no longer valid? Listen, Hurricane Sandy blew through here. You all remember that. I had districts that lost their roofs, right? Their strategic plans were like, we got to get kids in a
Facilities.
building, put them in a seat, and hopefully educate them while we, build our buildings back. So there are things. The pandemic, everybody's strategic plan went whoosh, except for their technology piece, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden went, accelerated, my favorite word here tonight, accelerated the utilization of technology by at least a decade. It really did. Or we would still be back, not one-to-one, not doing all those things, or doing it more slowly. So I would suggest whoever you get to do the strategic plan, they come in annually, in whatever month, generally April or May, and have a meeting with everyone who wants to come, that participated, and go through, here's what we achieved, here's still what's outstanding. Do we need to tweak it so that it stays valid? Because if you have a year of COVID, God forbid, that ever comes back, becomes not an endemic, then you have to adjust, and that's an important piece. But that accountability does come through those action plans.
And I'm encouraged too, with the 5-year strategic plan, that they now have people who specialize in that. Because it was, community member, the school board, and everybody kind of putting in and just trying to get everything in here was so much that to actually have somebody who does this and can really guide you, I think is important.
It is, it's very helpful. So are we
So
good
we're
with
sticking
the
with two?
2
So we're
goals
sticking with
and
two.
the 1 board goal?
2 and 1 board goal, which is the 5-year plan.
And what's the
Yeah.
one board goal?
It's to redo the 5-year plan.
Redo
That's
your
what-
5-year
That's the
plan.
one goal.
Yeah, you can probably, Gwen's gonna write it much nicer than that. She's not gonna write redo the 5-year plan,
No,
but
I'm not going to write that.
Come on.
I'm not. I am not going to write that. I will-
what's a good word for
We're glad you're
I
redo?
will put it in a memo and it will rework lovely. So
Great.
that when it's down here, it looks wonderfully.
I wouldn't be surprised if you just did it one day. Oh, I got the wrong version of it.
Strengthen, improve.
Improve.
Tweak.
We could use
Oh,
that.
God.
No.
All right, are we, that was fast. Are we good? You guys, everybody here, good? Any other input?
Feedback?
I have just a random question, not really related to goals.
What time's lunch?
I should have asked this a year ago. In board docs, when we have a committee meeting, are we as board members supposed to be uploading an agenda or minutes to
I
the
already
actual
sent it
board
to-
doc system?
We send it
I
to
sent it to
Mike.
Mike. He takes care of it.
So we send it to you? Yep, okay.
Now, should we actually send it to Rasha or do you,
No,
how do you want it?
send it to me.
Okay.
I can incorporate that into the agenda. And then-
Yeah, I send them an agenda and
No,
notes, although
minutes.
today, I forgot to send them this morning,
I
but
did too.
normally I send them pretty quickly after,
Summer.
and he gets them on there.
And if it's convenient, send me the notes afterwards or.
And I have a question just on that, because I go back to look sometimes, can they all be in, like, every time we send them and they stay there?
What do you mean?
I
The
mean, like,
notes?
sometimes I look for them and I'm like, where, okay, why aren't there any notes for this or that?
Aren't they in
it's
the
just weird.
library under,
It's in the
under the
library.
committees?
Yeah,
They're not, the old ones aren't in there, is that what you're saying?
not a lot.
Oh,
I'll take a look.
I don't know.
They
Okay.
should be in there. They're,
Okay.
they're an important documentation of the committee's work. And the public has access to that too, to see
Yes.
in the notes what you're actually doing. So
Yeah.
it
Okay,
is important. I'll make sure that.
okay.
The other piece that I included in your packet, and it really has nothing to do with goals whatsoever, but the School Ethics Commission finally put out a comprehensive chart around familial relationships and what is considered a conflict. So this is the first time in my more than 20 years, I have seen a complete list from the Ethics Commission. So I made you all a copy because I thought it was so incredibly helpful, which probably says I don't have a life. But I thought it was exciting. Because we get so many calls,
Yeah.
right? And we then have to call the legal department, or you have to call your board attorney to say, is this a conflict? Is this a conflict? And this lays out everyone you're related to and those folks you haven't even thought that you're related to yet, okay? So I just brought it for you because I thought it was important for you to have it. Just to spare you that agony when we get to negotiations of your business administrator and superintendent going, who's conflicted, who's not conflicted? It just makes life
Thank
easier. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
Thank you for
Enjoy the
coming.
remaining days of summer. I will look forward to seeing some of you in October at workshop. It should be a wonderful piece. It's back to 4 days. Mandatory training for new board members is on Monday. Keep in mind that new folks, you probably don't have anybody who's new at this point, but now you only have 90 days to do new board member orientation from the School Ethics Commission. They've shortened it from a year to 90 days. So in January, you may just want to remind them.
We won't have anyone new unless someone resigns between now and then, because
Okay.
the only 3 people running are the 3 people who are already
Oh,
sitting
okay,
here.
then never mind this.
So we're
one.
good.
Okay.
No one leave.
Never mind that. It doesn't matter, but I just tried to point that
For the
out
future.
to the boards for the future because it is quite a change, so. Yeah, it's a huge change, so it's a sea change.
Gwen, just an announcement to that. We have 4 members that signed up for the Atlantic City Conference. It's 4 nights now. You don't have to stay for all 4. If anybody's schedule changes and you have one night that's open that you want to come down, just let me know and I can.
Yeah, I'm
add
only
you to
doing
it.
2, I'm only staying Tuesday, Wednesday. I work Monday and I'll go back to work
What would
Thursday.
it, I can't remember the dates on.
It's October.
22nd?
Okay.
24, 25.
I'm gonna say,
24th?
yeah, 23rd is definitely a Sunday.
Okay, so then it's the 24th,
24th.
25th, 26th. It's 4 days. The law forum is on Thursday.
My friend
There's
just told me
still
Eagles
some
Dolphins is October
portions of
23rd,
training
today.
is on
He's
Thursday,
a
but not
Dolphins
so
fan.
many.
At least
The
we're
floor is
watching them.
open Tuesday and
Okay,
Wednesday.
he'll still be up
So
here.
if you only can go 2 days, I would recommend going those 2 days.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday, the floor is not open on Monday. There are trainings available, but the floor itself is not open on Monday. Trainings and mandatory trainings are offered on Monday. And Thursday's the law forum, and there's still trainings, but the floor is not open. The floor is open Tuesday and Wednesday.
When you say the floor open, that's
The-
when
the-
all the
the
exhibits
whole-
and
all the
exhibits,
whole exhibit.
yeah.
The convention floor, I'm sorry, it's not.
So I go to Monday after work,
We just refer to it as.
right from
the
work,
floor.
Floor.
stay Monday night,
So Tuesday
Tuesday
and
night.
Wednesday would be
Then
the
do
best
shopping
days.
Yes.
like 2 blocks
If
away.
you
only
have
go-
limited time.
You don't do shopping.
Well, it's nice that Piscataway gives you the time off. I have,
Well, they don't, I have to use my personal days. I
Okay.
asked them if it was, PD, they said, no, it does not count.
but some districts won't even let them go if they take their personal days.
Really?
Yeah. Where is it? Some that won't allow it.
Atlantic City
It's nice that they.
Convention Center.
Convention center.
I don't
But
even think I
wherever-
asked last time.
Are we gonna, do you know where we're staying? Because there was a shuttle from our hotel to the convention center.
There will be a shuttle as well, from every hotel.
Everyone,
here.
there you go.
I'm gonna,
Wherever
I'm
it
gonna
is.
book the reservation tomorrow. Does anybody have a preference where you'd like to stay? Keep in mind, the rates vary.
Whatever's free.
Yeah, yeah.
If Tropicana last year was free, then we'll stick with that. Tropicana was great.
The Tropicana actually is really good because it has two different Starbucks.
Carmine's.
Carmine's,
Carmine's.
it has Cuba Libre,
And Cuba Libre, there's always this, swinging
yes. I learned that when I
open
arrived
house
last.
given by somebody in that space, one of those nights. So, yeah, it's, although I hear rooms in other hotels are nicer, but.
It was fine, it was nice enough, it was
We
fine.
stay at the Tropicana because it's cheap,
I've had one.
so.
All right, so from here, we just have to adjourn. Can we adjourn from right where we're sitting?
You can adjourn.
Yes.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, adjourned, all right.
Great, I will send you this memo before the end of the week.
Thank you.